Hello, everybody. Welcome in to the Basketball Bulletin. Happy to have y'all here. It's trade season. It is officially trade season in the NBA. We have passed December 15th, which is when all the contracts signed over the summer, or most of the contracts signed over the summer anyway, become trade eligible. And that means trade talks are starting to ramp up. We've already seen a couple deals get done. Thomas Bryant going to the Indiana Pacers and Dennis Schroeder landing with the Golden State Warriors. Plus, we've got a bunch of new stuff out today. Thought we would just go live here and get into all of it and take some of your questions and comments as well. So everybody jumping in, we're happy to see you here. If you are new here and you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, hit that subscribe button for us. Stick around. We're going to be, of course, breaking down all the latest NBA news all year long, not just trade season, all around the year. We'll be here for you guys. I am Trevor Lane, joined by Donnie Freeman. Donnie, how are you doing?
Excited to talk about the NBA trade market. Hopefully we see another deal go down sooner. If you had to pick, or if you had to choose, or I guess guess is the right word, what do you think is the next trade that goes down? Is it just the Laker trade?
I think it's the Jonas Valanciunas one.
Yeah, it's just got so much smoke, right? Like,
well, Donnie, you know, the last time we did a live stream a few days ago, while I was still in Orlando, a trade went down mid-show. So all that, I'm not saying it's definitely going to happen, but that would continue the trend. We could see another deal go down here.
Every time we go live, we're going to see a new trade go down.
That's right. We're going to see a new trade go down every time. We're going to keep the streak going here. I am. Yes, indeed. I bought all the flannel shirts from Costco. I did. I actually, Donnie, my wife had to stop me the last time we were at Costco. I put another one in the cart, and she's like, "No, it's like you have too many already." I'm like, "All right, fine."
We're gonna have to start coordinating, and I'll start wearing those too. Typically, I come on, I'm in a hoodie, and because my house is always freezing, because my house is 60 degrees or lower at all times. It doesn't matter.
60.
So. Yeah.
And I thought my house, I keep it right around like 66.
No.
My mother-in-law is in town visiting right now. And so it's up to like 70, 69, 70, something like that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I keep it like 66, 65, somewhere there. But 60, that's 60. Pretty chilly.
So we keep it real chilly in here. So I'm like always cold. So that's why I'm always in a hoodie. But I'll get on a warm flannel for you, and we could coordinate with that. That could be fun.
Yeah, we'll have to do something there. Flannel rocks. Yeah, that's right. What's
up, Smokey? Said he found our second channel. Welcome in.
Happy to see y'all here. Let's see. Let's go here. Benny said Golden State got Dennis for nada. Why didn't we flip Gabe in seconds for him? Melton is expiring, but all seconds. I think you hit the nail on the head already. Yeah, the Nets didn't want to take back a long-term salary, and I mean Gabe's not long-term, but you could have, if you could get an expiring for him, why take back an extra year? Why pay Gabe Vincent $11.5 million when he's not performing up to that level? That's if I'm the Brooklyn Nets, I would not want to do that either.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's the main reason, because it would have been nice, but I think that's the reason why is they didn't really want to take back. And Gabe's got what, 2 more years?
Yeah. Well, he's got this year and next year, so 2 years including this year.
Yeah, so a year and a half basically. Yeah, I guess, but it's not the craziest thing. It's not like they're going to be ready to make a move next year. And I guess if they were to do it, they could flip Gabe in a similar situation as a expiring if they wanted to do that, maybe.
Sure.
So, but they have some options.
I get why the Nets would prefer just a pure. I mean, and he's not even going to play this year. Melton is, and he's hurt, unfortunately. But I mean, they don't care. They're not looking to try to win games right now.
You don't risk Gabe going there and lighting it up for 30 points per game.
Yeah, you got to be careful of that GAB3 that he gets it going. You got to be careful there with him that he goes in and banks in a bunch of threes. He misses it so bad he makes it.
He's done that like 5 times this season.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Stacy said Thomas Bryant had a great game against the Pels. So I was in the air and missed it.
I
didn't see what he did. Let me check the stats real quick here and see kind of just without having seen it, kind of what he produced. I don't think, but see, I would imagine unless Thomas Bryant just really goes nuts there, and we saw it once with the Lakers where he had a nice run. 11 minutes, 3 of 3 shooting, 7 points, 1 block, 2 boards. So he was solid. I don't think Indiana got Thomas Bryant as a means to shed Miles Turner or to make Miles Turner available on the trade market. I think they got
plus minus too.
to play behind Miles Turner.
Yeah, I agree with you. Worst plus minus in a game that they won by how much? Because it looks like they won by a lot.
Yeah, they won. What was the final score here? It was 119 to 104.
15 points.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I always thought he was just going to be like a backup center playing behind Miles, and that's pretty much what they got here. I don't know if he gets more than 11 minutes. I'm sure he had some flashes, look good.
Yeah.
And plus minus does not tell the whole story, but it is a bit concerning that he's the only negative on the team. So there's that. But some of that's just because I'm sure their defense falls apart when they swap him to Miles.
I'm sure. And I think that part of it too is he's when you look at Miles Turner, he's got the ability to get out there and play and really protect the rim, and that's not really what Thomas Bryant is. Thomas Bryant can keep you afloat while Miles Turner's off the floor. I don't look at a -6 in 11 minutes in his first game. They're going to be a little discombobulated. I think he's a solid rotation big. He's a solid rotation big that can give you exactly what he gave you here, 11 minutes, not have things fall apart while he's on the floor. I don't think they're going to put unless Miles Turner says, I'm not staying this summer. I don't think Indiana puts Miles Turner on the market. If they do, I think a number of teams will be interested, though.
Oh yeah, they could get. I think they can get a king's ransom for him right now. Even though he's not playing as good as he typically does, and by king's ransom I mean a couple firsts and a couple, maybe a young player that's good. But the market, I think he'd be very coveted around the league right now. So I think a lot of teams would be trying to go all in for Miles Turner.
For sure. For sure, if they make him available, which I doubt.
They're not going to get the coveted Rudy Gobert, 5 or 6 first-round picks. You remember how that ruined the NBA trades for like a year? Like all the trades look like that, and then similarly to like the Jay Crowder one, where it was like 5 second-round picks or something like that.
Yeah,
those trades look so crazy in hindsight.
Well, and ultimately, usually there's this period right afterwards where it's, okay, how's the market going to react? Is this the new normal? Is this resetting the market or not? And I'm glad that like the Mikal Bridges trade, which was 5 first, that obviously the Nets are not expecting. They took seconds for Dennis Schroeder. They're obviously not expecting that kind of value every time. So the important thing is that the market reacts in a way that makes that Rudy Gobert return, the Jay Crowder return, the return here for Mikal Bridges that looks at those as like just outliers and specific situations that resulted in that kind of return and not the norm and not what teams should expect when they're trying to sell.
Yeah, exactly. I just thought it was kind of interesting when you see that. It's like, oh, is this the market now? And I think there were a couple of other big trades after the Rudy Gobert one where it was like really like a lot of guys out there or a lot of picks as well as part of a trade for a guy. So nonetheless, though, thankfully things have seemingly come back.
All right, so this one, how many channels has Trevor Lane got? So obviously I do stuff on Lakers Nation, I do stuff on the front office show, but this one's actually
the answer is one. The answer is actually one.
Actually, yeah, the answer is actually one. This one is actually mine. This one is actually like I control this and everything in terms of all the decision making and all that sort of stuff. Are we going to make this channel into a podcast as well? We haven't really discussed that. It's probably not something that we'll do, but I wouldn't rule anything out at this point. Who knows? This is still very much in the formative stages. And by the way, we've been blown away by the amount of support that we've gotten here, the amount of people that have been coming here, checking out our videos, checking out our content. I really, really appreciative of everybody who's joined on so far.
Yeah, definitely. Everything he said, I echo. We don't really know kind of like how we're going to position the channel. We weren't sure when we were going to stream, for example, our first time. This is our 3rd or 4th stream. And it just kind of popped up one day and we've been having fun doing it. So we've been going to it, but we're still like fully like, yeah, maybe we'll try this. Maybe we'll do that. We're still getting things set up. Like it's just been going really quickly. So I guess that's the best possible case. So yeah, maybe in the future.
In fact, just a little like an hour ago, I just ordered a stream loading screen, a special basketball bulletin one. So hopefully we'll have that maybe by the next time we do a live show. Sometimes it takes a little while to produce those things. But yeah, doing live streams wasn't necessarily part of our initial plan. But once we started doing a few, we saw that you guys liked them, and so we thought, okay, we'll keep doing this.
Front office show is Keith's.
Technically, yeah, that was a little bit different because Keith and I kind of brought front office show to that network. So technically, yes, kind of, sort of. It's a little bit of a gray area, but yes, technically Keith is the one who's got that. Keith had started the front office show. I won't go into the whole story, but he started it with a different co-host a long time ago, and it sputtered, and they didn't have the consistency. And then I came along and said, Keith, I think you've got something here. Let me join on with you, and let's and I can really push this. And then that was like 4 years ago. We've been going ever since.
Yeah, similar to what happened here, basically.
Yeah,
similar thing.
Yeah.
What do you think about this?
Should Golden State take a gamble and go get Zion? Okay, so let's look at this because I think this is interesting. There's already some rumblings out there that, I forget who it was that said it, but advocated for Golden State trying to get Zion Williamson. So let's fire up the trade machine and actually take a look at what this could look like. I don't know, like Donnie, just Golden State Warriors or otherwise, conceptually, do you like the idea of a team being willing to take the gamble on Zion, or do you think it's too risky?
Man, can you imagine if Zion is traded and all of a sudden he's healthy and playing and happy to be there? Could you imagine that? So, like, if that was the Warriors getting the benefit of that, then sure, but I think it's too risky. I don't know, man. I got to see him play somewhere, and at that point, he becomes a more expensive asset. So, I don't know.
Well, I guess let me ask this then. Is getting Zion out of New Orleans, does that yield a healthier, more committed, focused, whatever you want to, whatever the problem is with Zion, does getting Zion out of New Orleans solve that?
Yeah, I think it's fair to say he didn't really want to go there in the first place. There was reporting about him wanting to go to New York, but he's a rookie. You can't really do anything about that. So maybe at some point he's more committed. Maybe there's also a reality sets in moment, like, damn, I've been traded, or, things like that. And also he's looking at his contract and how unfavorable it is to him going forward. And you're going to obviously want to try to get that rectified by your next deal. So he's going to reach a point where he's in a contract year and all these things. And I think that over the next couple of seasons, for sure, it'll even out. But if he's traded right now, I think he'll need time and he'll finally put in the work they've been asking him to, if that is what's really holding him back. Like if it's the weight thing or if his body is just predisposed to breaking down, there's not much you can do about that. But if it's anything that's within his control, I think that would be kind of crazy, but it might happen.
Yeah. Yeah, and that would, be crushing for New Orleans if Zion goes somewhere else and then becomes the guy that they thought he was going to be. By the way, Robert, thank you very much for the super chat. Appreciate it. Thank you for saying congrats on the new show. Really appreciate you and glad to have you here. So let's build this. Let's say Zion to the Warriors, let's say. And the Warriors, do they want to take this gamble? Maybe, maybe not. But in terms of salary matching, $36 million for Zion Williamson, almost $37 million. You can get it done. You're going to have to build something around an Andrew Wiggins deal. Then the interesting thing is because of the timing on the Dennis Schroeder trade, they can actually re-aggregate him in a trade. I don't know that I would try to do it without him if I can, and we'll see what we can put together here. But I
saw something about that where they were saying that they could put him in another deal to try to go get another guy out there, which is interesting.
So let's see. We've got 4 pieces going out already. Maybe it has to be. Sure. What if we turn? Well, Kevon Looney is expiring, but then again, so is GP the second.
Does it have to be Dennis?
I wonder. Nope, Dennis doesn't work either. Still not quite enough. Well, actually, that's too much salary going out. That's too much because I'm not thinking of Andrew Wiggins as being that much salary. Let's see here.
Still,
there you go.
There it is. Yeah.
Andrew Wiggins and Dennis Schroeder would get it done. You could do something around. Schroeder's. That's the thing about Golden State. Schroeder's expiring. Gary Payton II, I believe he expires as well. You've got Kevon Looney's in expiring. And that's what teams are going to want, as we saw in the Schroeder trade. They're going to want expiring contracts. So if you were to do now, if I am, let's be real, if I'm the Pelicans, I'm not doing this. Instead, I want this. I want Kuminga back. And then you're talking, they would probably ask for Podziemski too. If I'm the Warriors, I'm probably not touching Podziemski being in that too. Let's see. Is it quite enough if I put in Lindy Waters? Nope. Would it have to be Pods? Would you do that if you're Golden State? Nah. Wiggins, Kuminga, Podziemski for Zion? I don't think I'm doing that.
Nah. Not unless, the funny thing is they've been star hunting. Zion could be that guy. It's just so much of an unsure situation that I don't know. I wouldn't do it.
If he was healthy,
Kyle Anderson, maybe. But somebody said Kyle Anderson you could put in there.
Yeah, we could try putting him. I think that's going to be too much if we've got Kuminga in. If he was healthy, then okay, you can make the argument. If Zion was healthy, he's well worth this. The problem is he's never healthy. He was healthy, the Pelicans aren't trading him. I mean, what about this? Andrew Wiggins, Kyle Anderson, Brandon Podziemski. Would you do that if you're Golden State?
That's maybe. Are you giving up picks? Because that's what I think would break this for me.
Yeah, that's the other thing, is you probably have to give up some type of draft capital. But again, your upside here with Zion is so high if he's healthy. But this is going to be the problem with any team trying to trade for him. You know what you're getting from Andrew Wiggins. You've won a championship with Andrew Wiggins playing a huge role. Mm-hmm. Brandon Podziemski is a guy that you didn't want to move over the summer,
which they should have.
In order to get Lowry marketed, which in hindsight, they probably should have. Mm-hmm. But Zion, if he's on the floor, is great. Not good, great.
Yeah, that's why
such a gamble.
That's why I've been saying, like, I don't know that they should move on for him because it's hard to get a guy like that. But I understand the situation they're in where it's like maybe they should. So I don't know, it's weird.
What team should take the gamble?
Nobody.
And I've got one. I've got one that I think should take the gamble on Zion.
Okay. You know who should take it?
Huh?
Portland.
Okay. All right. I can get on board with that.
I can Portland or Utah. I would like, or Washington should be like a team that's one of the lower teams should obviously be in on Zion. That's what I think. Charlotte could be fun.
That's mine. That was mine. That's my team.
Yeah. Okay. Stacey put it in. Yeah, Stacey. They are right on that. I think that him with LaMelo could be really fun.
Yeah. Now, if you would, the Lakers, I don't. Yeah, it's such a gamble.
Could you imagine? It's the same situation, but for all the other teams, it's the exact same thing we've been talking about, where it's like there's a really high upside, but you got to send out nearly $40 million in salaries, and he's not a sure thing. Are you taking that or no?
Exactly. That's going to be the challenge with any team trying to trade for Zion Williamson. And I think it's going to depend on, with him, it's so much what environment is he going to be in. We know he wanted to go to the Knicks. He wanted to go to the Knicks. It's part of the reason why he changed agencies. So his agency was not getting him to the Knicks. Is he going to be better away from New Orleans? Away from all the beignets and everything else that causes them to put weight clauses in his contract and all that kind of stuff. Is that going to help him? I don't know. Like, is LA the right spot with all the taco trucks and things they've got out there? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know where it's going to be.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a tricky one. I don't know. Let's get into some of the cidery stuff, though.
Sure.
Really talked about
yeah. Let's get into some of that.
Also, 400 viewers. Hit that thumbs up. Subscribe if you're new. We appreciate it.
That's right. Hit that button. Let's get a like spike here. All right. Let's go here. We're going to jump around some NBA news here. Mm-hmm. The Trailblazers have reportedly lowered their asking price on Jerami Grant. This is from a couple days ago from Evan Sidery. I think it's funny that it's like, and maybe I'm too low on Jerami. And I keep saying I like Jerami Grant. I just don't like his contract. But they'd be willing to part with him for one first-round pick and a promising prospect instead of 2 future first-round picks. Like, I don't know if I really want to give up much of anything to get Jerami Grant, given the deal that he's on.
Stop, Trev. I had one video where I said that, and people were upset about it. I was actually really surprised, and I think it's pretty cool. I was surprised that there were people defending him and the contract, and I thought it was kind of crazy. But I think that's really cool that this channel has blossomed in the way where it's like, yeah, there's a lot of Laker fans, obviously, but like there's a lot of people here from all different types of fan bases, and Portland 100%. Fans are pretty happy about Jerami. They think that he's playing a good role for them, and his contract isn't all that bad, so that's awesome. For me personally, I don't know. He's still got like $100 million left in like 3 more years, something like that, right? I don't know if I want to pay him that, but the cap could keep going up, and maybe it looks better down the line. But I think you'd be asking for him to get back to being more of a 3-and-D player, which he was back in the Denver days. And is that worth $30+ million? It's hard. It's really hard.
If he would need to be the final piece for a team that's contending that just badly needs a wing, I think. But yeah, he's not had a great season. And so that's the challenge there. We've got a comment here that says, why are you guys so quick to trade Wiggins? Have you watched him play? That's just math.
No, I think Wiggins has been great.
Yeah, that's just math. That's not us trying to trade Andrew Wiggins. That's just making the math of a potential deal work. That's not saying the Warriors should or shouldn't get rid of Wiggins. That's just making the math work. That's it.
Yeah. You needed to match 40 million. It's kind of hard to do that without giving out a $30 million guy or 26 or whatever.
So we just put out a video like 30 minutes ago on this, the Bulls willing to trade Lonzo Ball for second round draft capital. I just think right now, a lot of teams are going to be looking at Lonzo just as an expiring contract. And that's the challenge with Lonzo, is that he's just an expiring contract. I want to see a team get Lonzo, and it's going to require him to be on the court. I want to see somebody go get Lonzo that wants Lonzo for Lonzo and wants to put him on the floor. That's what I want to see.
Yeah. I'm not going to really elaborate too much. So guys, make sure you do check out that video. We did it on Lonzo specifically, but I agree. And hopefully, he lands in a good spot and he's able to play and show what he can do and be a good player going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. The Hawks are canvassing the trade market with Clint Capella's $22.3 million expiring contract for a rotational upgrade. They're in position to become buyers, only 2.5 games out of the 3 seed in the Eastern Conference. They've been really good. They got knocked out of the NBA Cup tournament, but they've looked good. Trae Young in a different role as more of a distributor. That's gone well. They've got this plethora of wings that they're using, including Dyson Daniels, now Zach Reese-Shea. They've got these guys that have come in. And in addition to Jalen Johnson, who I love, they've got a number of players that they just, swarm you with on the wings. But using Clint Capella, part of that is Onyeka Okongwu has just been so good for them. I wonder, though, I think this is, for Clint Capella specifically, I think there's a number of teams that want a center. But I also think there's a lot of centers on the market and maybe some more cost-effective ones when we talk about, is a team willing to take a gamble on Robert Williams, who's making like half of what Capella is? Jonas Valanciunas, same situation. A player like that. Or if you're willing to spend, say, $20 million plus on a center, would you be more interested in targeting like Jakob Poeltl? Would you be more interested in targeting someone like that, or Nikola Vucevic rather than Capella? I think that's going to be the challenge for the Hawks. What's your value, given that there is going to be competition on the market at that exact position and in the same price range, as well as in a lower price range?
So would those really move the needle a lot? I think maybe you'd be looking for more of like it's tricky because they don't really have a lot of bigs. So if they send him out, ideally they're getting back another starting big. But okay, say that they try to play Okongwu and they try to go from there. Maybe they put Nance in the rotation. I don't think he is. They have a couple other power forwards that could kind of masquerade that way. But I think they should still try to get back another center. But Clint's been all right for them, statistically anyway. I don't know if they're going to get much of a big upgrade over him.
The question is, can you get an upgrade at another position? And that's what I think they'd be trying to do. Can they get something somewhere else?
Well, they got the wings covered.
They've got the wings covered. You've got Trey. Maybe you could use another rotation guard that you can go to aside from Trey to go and produce some things for you. Bogdanovich is a guy I like a lot, that he'll have plenty of value too. They could probably use some help there in the backcourt. But a lot of teams right now are saying no thank you on Capella, and they're asking for Larry Nance Jr., which the reason for that is more Nance's, price tag for one thing, but then also his versatility.
Yeah.
Because I think the teams that would be looking for a big, they would value having a guy that could play the 4 or the 5, and that's certainly something Nance can do. Yeah. But I think Capella is an interesting piece on the market. The question is, I think if I am an opposing team, let's say, and I'm looking to trade, I say I'm willing to take on a $20 million center contract. I think Clint Capella's asking price has to undercut the asking price of Vucevic and undercut the asking price for Jakob Poeltl with the Raptors and with the Bulls, because I would rather have those two guys over Capella. Different skill sets, but I think I would rather have those two.
Are they in expiring seasons?
Vucevic is not. He's got one more year. Poeltl is not as well. So that's maybe where there's some value to a team if they really want an expiring deal.
Yeah, I think that's where, I think maybe the best case for them is that if they do flip him, they bring back maybe a guard and a big that can be a part of the rotation going forward. But other than that, I don't know that he gets moved unless the asking price is pretty, small. Otherwise, I don't see much at that point. I don't see much of a reason to get off of him. But I can see them trying to turn that expiring into something. So maybe they trade with a team like Brooklyn or something. I don't know what they'd have specifically, but maybe they try to pull something like that off.
I do wonder, just because of the value of expiring contracts, could this be a big move for the Hawks? I don't want to suggest they get in on like Jimmy Butler or something like that, but could you find a team that doesn't necessarily have to have a center, but is looking for an expiring contract, and you stack up Clint Capella with a few other pieces, and then you go get somebody like, I don't think, unfortunately, Jimmy Butler and Brandon Ingram are both wings, and so they're two of the bigger names out there. But could they be a team to go get somebody that would really put you over the top in the Eastern Conference? And that's kind of more what I could see the Hawks doing. I just don't know that there's a clear fit, and maybe the chat has some ideas, but I don't know if there's a clear fit that they can go get that's a significant upgrade elsewhere on their roster that would really move the needle for them. But I think that could be an interesting way to use this contract too.
Yeah, I think that's kind of more to my point earlier, like where I was like, like where I was saying that I don't know if they'd be able to really upgrade here. But if they're going to aggregate him with somebody else, that could be a thing. They could put 2 and 2 together and try to find another player that could be substantially better. That could work.
How about Zion?
Oh my God. I think that would be so fun in theory, but that's all it is. Zion is such a theoretical player. In theory, he would fit perfect with Trey. Oh man. I mean, the defense would be kind of bad, but they could, if they put, I saw Trey last game, he was out there hustling. So don't tell me he can't defend. I think with most of these guys, it's just an effort thing. But regardless, I think that would be such a fun combo there. On the topic with Clint, I think he's also in a weird spot because he's not a stretch big, and those guys have just become so valuable. Stretch passing bigs, the poor man's Jokic type of archetype guys have become really, really valuable. While somebody's commented that the traditional guys are kind of getting phased out, I think there's still value to them. But yeah, I think that's where having a guy like Clint is kind of hard to use on your team as well.
Yeah, aging traditional fives are trending out of the league, but I think we're starting to see a renaissance.
A little bit.
We're seeing a flip where there's a lot of bigs on the market right now, and I think that's going to depress their value overall. But I think we're also seeing a shift back towards the center position, and we saw that over the market over the summer, where you had guys like Drew Eubanks, who typically would just be, okay, here's your minimum salary 1-year deal. They were getting more than that. And I think what you're seeing now is the big plotting guys that really can't switch at all defensively are really getting phased out. But now we're starting to see a new breed of center that doesn't necessarily have to be able to shoot the three, but if they can stay active on the perimeter and not just get burned in switches, those guys I think are going to have some value.
That's also a form of evolution for the position too. For example, I think that Edey has been awesome, but having watched that game last night, I think towards the end of it, you can kind of see where some of those big plotting centers are getting a little bit phased out because they just put him in actions at the end of the game. Even if it meant AD was dribbling on the perimeter, they just put Edey in repeated actions at the end of the game, and it was compromising them at the end of the game. And so that's why, a lot of times those guys don't close games. And again, I think he's been phenomenal for them in his rookie year. Not a knock against him, but I just think that archetype, it's kind of hard because they put you in actions, they space the floor so much, you're expected to guard on an island, and it's just really hard to do.
Ken, appreciate the super chat there. All right, let's take a look at what else we've got out here. Again, ESPN had a piece out today that we'll take a look at. The Suns have legitimate interest in trading for Jimmy Butler. I get it. And if I'm the Suns, I would too. But we've made this point a bunch, so I don't want to spend a bunch of time on it. But if I'm the Miami Heat, I don't want Bradley Beal. I don't want his no trade clause. I don't want his contract. So to me, this is, unless you find a team that wants Bradley Beal and that Bradley Beal wants to go too, there's no avenue here for the Suns to get him. But if I'm the Suns, I would love to swap out Bradley Beal for Jimmy Butler.
Sky Falcon says Beal. I read Beal Lakers. I was gonna say
Any Beal
Beal
takers.
takers. I read Lakers. I was gonna say, yeah. I don't. You won't hear me disparage Beal at all because I found out there are Beal stands the other day. Like I said, it's awesome.
Did you?
Yeah. When because we did that video talking about the Suns' problem, it was initially a Booker thing, but we flipped it midway through to being about Beal's not been great, and I found some of those too. So you won't hear me disparage Beal, but regardless. One of two guys in the league, $50 million player option or no trade clause. One of two guys in the league with that. I mean, it's Miami doesn't want him, but does he even want to go there? Like it's too complicated to make any trade involving Beal period work. It doesn't work. So it's not going to happen.
This comment says, any word on Vucevic? Yeah. So with Nikola Vucevic, the word is the Bulls are asking for a first-round pick. Now, the Nets were asking for a first for Dennis Schroeder, too. Doesn't mean they're going to get it, obviously. But the Bulls are asking for a first, and we talked about this at the time when that rumor came out that, we would value, an opposing GM said they would value Vucevic at a couple of seconds, and a bunch of people immediately said, do that trade, do that now, from a bunch of teams around the NBA. Said, do that trade now. That's not from the Bulls. That's what an opposing team would value him at. The Bulls are saying, no, we want a first. And the way he's playing, they're probably in the right to do that. I don't know if when push comes to shove, they actually get a first for him. But I think that they may wind up kind of like the Nets did with Schroeder, where a few days ago they said, no, we want a first. And then they very quickly backed off of that. It wouldn't shock me if it may take closer to the deadline, but the Bulls do come off of that and maybe they accept something for multiple seconds.
And Vooch is, he's not worth 2 seconds in a good way. Like he's somebody that probably is worth a first. The way that he's been production wise, yeah, he's been super good. So I understand why they would try to rebuff that and kind of go from there. So yeah, I can understand that, and they should try to wait and hold out as long as they can to try to get a first off of him.
So here's the other thing that came out today was on regarding the Chicago Bulls. This was on Zach LaVine. And I'm going to share this with everybody here. This is from the ESPN article from Bobby Marks. And the point that I wanted to get to is the final one here. This was a team talking to ESPN. Marks was basically making the point that Zach LaVine's market, despite how well he's played, has not changed. If we were operating under the 2017 CBA and there were no apron rules, I could make a case to my owner on LaVine, but his salary boxes you into a corner on how we add to the roster. So, in other words, like Zach LaVine is playing great. He's been on fire. He's an excellent player, but nobody wants his contract still. His market has not changed. And that means, assuming this stays the case, that means Zach LaVine's not moving. He's staying on the Chicago Bulls if teams around the league see it the way this particular team does. And I think there's a pretty good chance that's the case.
That's basically what we've been saying.
Yeah.
Every time we talk about LaVine in a video, it's, hey, he's been awesome. All the numbers say he's good. The Bulls should try to get rid of him because he's been too good for them. They want to get rid of him. But the reality is that he's paid at such an exorbitant number that, like, it's like, okay, well, is he your first or second best player? If not, with the new CBA rules, then no, you can't do it. You simply can't do it. Mm-hmm. And he's in a weird spot because, like they said here, if you were to make that trade, it just kind of boxes you in. Unless you're content just kind of playing the field in the middle ground and just selling tickets, I guess. But if you want to make a real push, he can't be on your books at that number.
Yeah, he can't. CBA killed trade season. I don't know if it's a long-term killing of the trade season. I think it did hurt. It's made trades much more difficult to pull off. There's no question. But I think right now, you've got a few contracts that were signed under the old CBA that are particularly difficult to move. When we talk about Zach LaVine, we look at Brandon Ingram, because essentially Brandon Ingram wants a contract similar to what he would have gotten under the old CBA. And I think it's players like Ingram, like LaVine, the kind of middle-class guys of the NBA or upper middle-class guys of the NBA that are really going to get squeezed under this new deal. And so those are the guys that might have trouble moving right now, but in the future, teams aren't going to give out those contracts as much. So those probably aren't sitting out there floundering because teams are going to be even more careful with what they spend on.
Yeah. Apple asked if the contracts are going to go down. I kind of think that contracts are going to be like, let's just say like a contending team. They're going to have their two main guys making 50, whatever it is. I think it's close to 60 now, right? But anyway, making 50 million, say something like that. And then the rest of the guys are going to be around 7, 8, 9, 10. I think that's really what's going to wind up happening. You may find 120, but the rest of the guys are going to be around that area. You're not going to see a lot of 30s or things like that going forward because you just don't have room for it. You could maybe squeeze 130, but the other guys got to be low numbers. It's just really hard.
So one of the things to keep in mind too is regardless of what the numbers are, players are still going to get paid the same amount. Per the CBA, they're guaranteed, I believe it's 51% off the top of my head of basketball related income. So there's a portion of the players' salaries that goes into escrow. And then that winds up, depending on where BRI, basketball related income, ultimately ends up each year. That determines how that escrow money gets doled out. It's like even if, like, let's say every team owner stomped their feet and said, no, we are not giving out money. Every player is only getting a minimum and we will give nothing more. The players will still get that money, even if it's not. And again, that's an extreme example. There's restrictions in place to prevent teams from being that low on salary. There's a salary floor and all that kind of stuff. But players will still get the same amount. Just like if teams gave out a ton of max contracts and it looks like there's so much money going out to players, that's ultimately will come back. It's going to depend on what BRI is. That's going to determine the final number there.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I just think that I don't think that the top guys' salaries will go down because I just think those are just going to keep going up and up and up and up and up until they hit an upper limit for a while here, I guess. But I don't think those will go down. Like, you're not going to magically see your guys that are on 50 million plus contracts, starting from now, start taking $40 million deals. They're not going to start doing that. The guys that are worthy of the 50 plus, that's going to keep going. But like you mentioned, I do think that those guys that would have been higher, like 15, 16 in that range, are going to get a little bit squeezed. The MLE is still going to be in that area. So there's going to be at least one guy on most rosters. Sometimes, I guess, if they're opting to use it now that they don't have to anymore, that's going to be around there. But a lot of guys, I think, are going to be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 or so. And that's where it's tricky. Like I've said a few times, is that if you want to try to just theoretically go trade for a star, you're going to need to put together 4 or 5 guys. It's going to be really hard to do. So, and then also setting aside the fact that's just to match salary. What about all the other implications? Like, can you even aggregate the salaries at that time? All the different things with the CBA. Like, it's a hassle. It
is very, very cumbersome. It's a burden. We'll see how teams adjust to it. One of the things to watch for too is now teams can save their mid-level exception, as Donnie alluded to. They can save their mid-level exception in the summer and use it as a trade exception mid-season. So you could have a team absorb salary using the mid-level, which is something to watch for too, to see if that will actually open up movement for some of those guys that are not the top tier salaries, but kind of that mid-tier, that $13-ish million salary. I mean, you could see that happen with a Jonas Valanciunas. You could see that happen with Robert Williams, with some of the other names that are out there on the market. All right. The chat, I see you guys talking about, can an injured player be traded? Yes, an injured player can be traded. We saw it happen with DeAnthony Melton already. Teams just have to waive the physical, and and you're good. You're off and running for an injured player to get traded. That's totally fine. It's a
2K rule.
It's a 2K thing. Apparently, I didn't know that until last night. That came up on our show. But that apparently it's a 2K thing. But yes, injured players can be traded. The only way it becomes an issue is, like we saw it happen with Tyson Chandler years and years ago, where he got traded. I want to say it was where was it? Maybe OKC? I don't remember where he got traded to, but bottom line, he got traded somewhere. And then once they got a look at him, they realized, oh, he's got an issue. I believe it was with his foot. And so because the team trading for him didn't know that changed, and it undid the trade. Basically, it failed after the physical. That's a different situation, though. If the team is going in knowing, hey, this guy's hurt, and they go into the negotiation knowing that's a different story.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's see. Justin said, in the future, will teams just build around one star?
Is that kind of the OKC build right now? That's kind of what it is, but they're in a weird spot because they're so young still, and so some of their guys haven't developed. Like, to that level yet.
They've got
Jay
guys who
there.
could become the
Yeah,
second and maybe third
Chet,
star.
I think could be. Jalen, of course, I think could
Yeah.
be too. Like they've got guys that could be, but aren't fully there yet. But yeah, I think it's a little tricky if you try to do this. It's back to what we were just kind of talking about, like where if you do this, it would open up more salary across the roster, but you'd also have to have some really, really, really high value role players on.
They'd have to be fantastic.
They'd have to be super good. I think
you'd have to rely on a ton of depth, and that's kind of what OKC is doing here.
Yeah, that's what I said.
I think you can make the argument that when he's on the floor, you were getting star level production out of Chet. You're getting star level production out of Jay Will. So yeah, I don't know that they're necessarily the best example. I mean, Shea is clearly the guy, but the other guys there are not.
What about the Timberwolves?
They're not role players. The Wolves.
Well, you get star level defense. From
I mean, Gobert is paid like a star. He's supposed to be a star because of what he does defensively. Yeah. But will teams build around one star? It could happen. And you know what, Donnie? I'll tell you this. I wouldn't mind seeing it happen, just to get some diversity in the way that teams are being built right now. Because a lot of teams, every team they may go about it different ways, but every team essentially is looking to maximize their shots at the rim and their shots from behind the arc. And some teams will put more emphasis on behind the arc and less at the rim, and vice versa. But every team's looking to maximize those things. Every team is looking to put 3-and-D wings with athleticism around their star players. Every team is looking for bigs that can do multiple things, whether it's step out and shoot the three or defend in the pick and roll. Every team is looking for switchy guards. They're all looking for the same stuff. Essentially, the build the Celtics have right now, the build the Lakers had back in 2020. Every team's trying to get those type of pieces. It would be fun to see some different styles of builds, like see a team go, hey, we're going to go 3 stars and screw the role players. We're just going to get minimum guys and 3 stars, and that's all we're going to do. And to hell with the salary cap. And then see other teams go, you know what? We're going to go 1 star, and we're going to get the best role. We're going to pay them all $20 million, but we're going to have the best role players you could potentially find. And then see the in-between, the 2 stars, plus maybe a third guy that's making a little bit less, and then quality role pieces. It's going to, I think I'd like to see teams explore those 3 different paths instead of everybody trying to do the same thing.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's kind of been where a few teams try to do the same thing for a while now, 3-star builds, things like that. But it seems that we are trending away from that with the CBA, basically trying to force these things to happen. So it'll be interesting to see the way that they decide to build when, maybe they do try to have only 1 star. Somebody commented that was Apple did, that was the Mavs run 2011. And they were extremely good that year, obviously won the title, faced some really tough competition along the way. And they were spearheaded by Dirk, but they also had some incredible role player play out there. Some of those guys just flat out were phenomenal for them and may have given them, pseudo star level production on some of those nights. And that's what matters.
By the way, guys, we've got 640 of you in here right now. If you've not done so yet, hit the like button. And if you're here just joining us, and you haven't checked out the channel yet, hit the subscribe button as well. We'd appreciate it if you would do that while you're here. So again, let's get that like spike and
subscribe.
Make sure and subscribe. That's right. That's right. And this is talking about Brandon Ingram, the 3 paths here. This is Bobby Marks on BI. He stays with the Pelicans. He finds no market and takes an extension less than the max to stay with the Pels. He gets traded to a new team, which is the likely scenario, or no trade, and he's stuck, and he hits free agency this summer. Do you think the Pels move Brandon Ingram before February 6th?
Now that the injury is there, I don't know. He'd have to come back and look really good. Like it's not hampering him at all. But at the same time, I think did we talk about it already? How they've got basically everyone on the market. They should be trying to flip everybody that they can. So maybe they buy low on or sell low on him, I guess. But yeah.
I mean, I think he has depressed his own market value by wanting so much on his next contract.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard to find teams that want him.
Trying to dictate where he's going with the Utah thing, right?
Sure. Yeah. That's absolutely part of it. That's absolutely part of it. When you've got Brandon Ingram, he can very much control his destination. All he has to do is tell a team, if a team is going to give up significant assets for him and he doesn't want to go there, he just has to say, well, I'm going to leave in the summer. Yeah. Now, the challenge this summer, though, There's two teams that have cap space.
Yeah, there's no money out there.
And it's the Nets and the Wizards.
And Jimmy's doing the exact same thing.
Yeah. So there's like teams are calling their bluffs already, are telling players, hey, you want to threaten to leave this summer? Cool. Where are you going? You got nowhere to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the exact same conversation with Jimmy. It's like, you want more money? That's great. I think he's more tradable just because he's better. But teams are going to call your bluff. Like, there's nobody out there that's going to give you $50 million. It's just not going to happen. Similarly to the Levine thing we talked about, it's kind of hard to say, we're going to give $50 million to a guy. I guess more so in Brandon's case than Jimmy's case. But still, Jimmy's old. He's aging. He's been injured a lot too. So I think that's where the concerns are with him.
I still like Jimmy to the Warriors. I think that makes so much sense for them.
I think that would be perfect. I like him to the Suns, but it's just not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. We talked about Zion a bit. I thought it was interesting. Bobby brought up this point that the Wizards had a trade exception that they used to sign Valanciunas. It was confusing. Why would the Wizards want Valanciunas to begin with? Essentially, they extended their trade exception to a degree by signing Valanciunas to the contract because they have him as a hey, look, everybody knows it was a poorly kept secret. Everybody knew the moment he signed that they signed him to trade him. Essentially, what they did was they extended their trade exception by a couple of years, or at least a trade piece by a couple of years by signing Valanciunas as that exception was expiring. They did a sign and trade with him. And so that's what they did. So he's a piece that I think it makes a lot of sense for them to move. They could move him next year, but in terms of like certainty that a player is going to get traded, I think Jonas Valanciunas might have the most likely to be traded label right now on this year's trade market.
That's how we opened it, where it's like, if you had to guess which one is coming up, it's the Jonas one. It seems like it's a foregone thing. What do you think about this? This is something, and it's true. They also follow up by saying that they need to fire Willie Green and GM Griffin. Like I asked you about that earlier about Griffin. What do you think about this?
The Pels, we haven't seen our entire team here all year. It's true. It's very true. And that's the problem for New Orleans is like people want to say, David Griffin is bad or David Griffin is good. How do you know? Yeah, I mean, he put this team together.
Dyson Daniels doesn't look good.
That's true. Yeah, Dyson Daniels suddenly looking great for the Hawks is not ideal. But you put this team together to be able to make a real run in the West, right? This is arguably the most talented Pels team that we've seen in recent years. You've got DeJounte Murray. You still have CJ McCollum, Brandon Ingram. Look at the wing depth. You've got Brandon Ingram, Herb Jones, Trey Murphy III. You've got Alvarado, a bargain contract, by the way, for Alvarado. You've got Jordan Hawkins, who showed some stuff as a rookie. Maybe you're thin at the center position, but hey, Yves Missi has looked really interesting there in the middle. You still have Daniel Tice. So you've got real pieces on this team. They just have not been healthy all season. But unfortunately, in part because they're in the West, but even if they're in the East, like their season's over. They're not making the postseason. They're just not. Like they would have to be playing like the best team in the NBA from here on out in order to make the play-in the Western Conference. I just don't see it happening. So this is worse than what's gone on with the 76ers, in my opinion. This is awful what's happened in New Orleans because this is a team that we have no idea how good they could actually be because you've had multiple players out hurt all season. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I don't know. Like the reality is that while you haven't seen the team, this, like we've talked about before, is a good opportunity for them to flip everything and reset and go from there, get their, like the comment says here, get their pick and go from there. One of the things that we talked about in our various Zion videos was the idea that they should try to flip him or just try to say, all right, this year is what it is and get your pick and go into next year and see if you're better. I mean, this is, like you said, probably their best team that they've had in this entire Zion era. So, I mean, maybe they come back like Memphis where they're out this year and they're great next year. Like Memphis is super good. Although I will say the difference is Memphis was like a perennial 50-win team prior to just randomly having one bad season. But they've been cursed this year if you're the Pelicans, and maybe that is something that changes. On the topic of Griffin, I do think he's made some sketchy moves. And I think that some of the stuff doesn't look great. Some of the decisions he made with some of the Laker guys in that initial, not retaining some of those guys initially.
Sure.
I don't like that. I don't like some of the moves he made. Dyson Daniels stands out a lot. That's the newest one, but I also thought they gave up a lot for DeJounte alongside Dyson Daniels.
Two first plus Dyson Daniels and Larry Nance.
Whew. Yeah, I think that's a lot. And again, it just doesn't look great because DeJounte hasn't been able to show with the full team, especially what he can do. But yeah, I don't know. He's a weird guy. I think Griff also really retained that job for winning that championship. But Stacey pointed out that he drafted Anthony Bennett, which is true. So I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a mixed bag, definitely with David Griffin. I don't know as far as bringing everyone back to the Pelicans. Like, what are you going to pay? The problem is the Pelicans don't want to pay the tax, so Brandon Ingram's going to have to take way less, like significantly less than what he wants. So can you really bring everyone back? But and then how do you tank? Like, do you just tell Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson, hey, take your time, don't come back from your injuries, stay gone? Because if they come back, they're going to win some games. They'll probably win enough to pull. Right now, they have the second worst record in the NBA. They'll probably win enough to, if their guys come back, to turn things on their head. Now, the advantage would be at least you would get a set. You at least know what is this team, what isn't this team, if they can get everybody healthy. But I think I'm still in favor of trying to move on from Zion if I can.
Who's better, Griffin or Pelinka from Omaris? What do you think? They're both championship winning GMs, so
they should. It's funny that they both negotiated a big trade with each other.
Yeah.
Do you think would the Pelicans trade with the Lakers again?
Nah, I don't think so.
Probably not.
There's too much animosity there from the AD thing. I don't think so.
Let's go here. I just wanted to give this one a shout out. Not that one. That was the wrong one. That was the wrong one.
No, you did that on purpose.
No, your previous comment. This one. It was the same guy. Damn it. Go Blazers. I wanted to give this Blazers fan credit because, I mean, look, well, what's funny, though, I guess that illustrates my point. I've been saying for years that, like, the Blazers hate the Lakers. The Lakers don't particularly care about the Blazers. It's not, I don't feel any animosity from a Lakers side towards the Blazers, but I just wanted to give him credit for saying go Blazers and being a Blazers fan. It's great when you see fans stick it out through tough seasons. So I wanted to give him credit for that.
You did that on purpose.
Now I need to take that away before people think I'm a LeBron. Donnie, I literally get told every single show. I have people coming after me telling me, I love LeBron. Why do you protect him? What are you getting paid by Clutch? All this stuff. And then I'll have people telling me from the same show, why do you hate LeBron so much? What's going on? Why are you going after him? Why are you calling out that he doesn't get back on defense? Because he doesn't get back on defense. That's it. It's crazy.
Yeah, you could say the same thing about every player on the roster.
It's nuts.
It's kind of crazy how it is from our side, but yeah, that's funny. But I still think you did that on purpose.
I did not. It was a total accident. Beast Mode said Kessler, Sexton, Collins. Well, we know the Jazz aren't going to move Kessler right now. They decided not to. But for D'Lo, Rui, Vincent, and 2 first, would you all do it? I would do it. Yes. That's a lot of talent coming in. That's a lot of firepower. Does it really fix what ails the Lakers? I mean, it's a lot of talent, but
you get 2 bigs and a guard. I'd be all right with that.
Yeah.
And they're all, I mean, it's not like anybody in this deal is like, I think Kessler would be the nicest piece going forward. I think Collins may be the best player right now. Is that fair to say? It's not like any of these guys are like crazy good right now or anything.
I'm just big on Kessler. I think his rim protection is legit. Like he's like 3-4 years now. If he continues on this trajectory, he may wind up being the best rim protector in the NBA at some point, aside from Wemby. And I think you can make the argument he is right now. So, at least in terms of his advanced metrics, how much he's negatively impacting opponents at the rim, he's great there. So I'd be interested in that. But I don't think the Jazz would do that. They would not. They would want 2 first minimum just for Kessler. Yeah, Forget the other pieces.
I think the Lakers are like exponentially better if they do this trade. I think they're a lot better.
And the Jazz would probably not do it.
Yeah. Does that even add up salary wise?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not going to punch it all in though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think the Clippers make any moves? I do think they'll do something with PJ Tucker. I think they'll do something with him with that expiring contract. I think they'll try to make a move with him. and do what they can there. It's possible they'll make a bigger move, but I'd keep a real close eye on that PJ Tucker salary as potentially something that they could move.
Yeah, they should be all in on Jimmy.
Go get Jimmy Butler and Jimmy and Kawhi together.
Yeah,
and there you go.
All in.
And
Jimmy
James
Harden, Kawhi, shoot. Go all in on the next couple of years. Make it happen. I like their team though. I do. I know
they've been good.
I know we mainly are, obviously Laker guys and stuff like that. Got a lot of Laker fans. But I think I really enjoy their roster build, the way they built that team. And I think that the fact they're staying afloat, just hanging on, I think they're pretty good. But above all else, I really like the roster construction.
I like this. How do you think he keeps rolling out these fancy flannels, the clutch checks? Yes, I'm on. I must be on payroll, and that's why I'm shopping at Costco, right?
Yeah. Oh, the Thunder do have their picks. That's true, huh? Do they have any picks anytime soon?
Oh,
the Clippers?
I'd have to go look, but I know most of them are gone.
Well,
I think they do because of the Stepien rule, but
that's why you
I'd have
don't
to look and see what they've got.
Yeah, they do have some, of course, because they couldn't trade them all. But that's why you don't tank, though. There's a comment saying that they should just tank. That's why you don't tank.
Yeah.
Why is Zion so fat? Because he's eating all that good New Orleans food, man.
Beignets.
Yeah,
they're so good.
That's what it is. That's the most important thing. Like, if you're into trying to lose weight, I actually work out a ton. I'm there every day. I've been for years, and I put my weights up and down. But I'll tell you that if you're trying to lose fat, it's not some there's a lot of different factors, like more muscle mass helps increases your NEAT, all these other things, but the diet is the most important thing. So if he's not able to lose any weight, it's because he's simply put, he's eating too much. It is what it is.
100%. 90%, if not more, of weight loss is what
he's just eating too much.
It's what you eat. And that's what I'm bad. I'm trying to slim back down and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's a battle, especially this time of year. But yeah, it's what you eat. You can't. I think the best phrase is you can't out train a bad diet.
Yeah. Well, you can eat 2 Big Macs a day, and if that's all you ate, you'd still lose weight. Because
it would be great for putting on muscle, but yes,
it wouldn't be great for that. But he's eating too much. But yeah, you can't out train whatever the heck he's putting in his mouth. So
yeah. There's no way to do that. All right. Let's wrap things up there. Appreciate all of you for joining. Kind of an impromptu live stream. We wanted to come on here because there was a decent amount of trade stuff around the league that we wanted to discuss. But again, if you guys haven't done so yet, make sure that you do subscribe to the channel. Go check out the video we just put out about an hour ago on Lonzo Ball and that really interesting situation. Again, there's 680 of you in here. I think that's a new high for us.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Pretty sure it is.
Pretty sure.
So you guys are awesome. We appreciate all of you guys so much for being here and being with us on this endeavor. Again, this is our independent, 100% independent NBA channel, something we just decided to get out there and start going. And we've been absolutely blown away by all of the support here. So we appreciate all of you guys for being here with us. And again, if you haven't hit the subscribe button yet, do hit it. You guys know we're putting in the work here for sure. Yes, this is actually new episode of the Front Office Show today. That's actually where I'm going right now, is to go record the Front Office Show. So that's coming.
Yeah. Well, this wound up going pretty perfect length. So
exactly.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, you guys can catch Trev over there, and you'll see more of me and us tomorrow. So thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate it, and see you later.
See ya.